Hello. Sorry for being late. As usual, I just woke up. Yeah, it feels kind of weird doing this every morning, but it's also like it's weird to start your day just I guess talking for 2 hours. But also it's quite nice. Like I feel like I'm getting through so much. Like I'm not sure if I should just keep doing this for other classic texts as well. Like I'm sure we could read like Confucius like this and finish in a month or something, right? Yeah. So it would be quite interesting. I don't know. Uh yeah. But I guess maybe I'll finish this first and see how it goes. And I'll be moving to the States in a few months as well. So time zones are very yeah. I don't know. I don't even know when people would like to watch these things. Yeah. But let's see. And I guess let's start with our first poem for today then. By this guy, Cui Shu. So this is uh, a climb on a mountain holiday to the terrace whence one sees the magician, a poem sent to Vice Prefect Liu. A magician here, it should just be a immortal deity. Okay. Oh, one comment you say, oh, the 三字经 next. Yeah, I think I could totally do that. Yeah, after this, then we do the 三字经. Yeah. Okay. I mean, after I'm done with all the poems here, lah. Yeah. Right. Let's go through. I'll go through this poem first. All right. So again, a climb on the mountain holiday to the terrace whence one sees the deity. A poem sent to Vice Prefect Liu.9日登望仙台，乘流明府。汉文皇帝有高台，此日登临曙色开。三尽人山皆北向，二陵风雨自东来。关门令医谁能识？和尚仙翁去不回。且日尽寻彭泽载，陶人共醉菊花杯。The Han Emperor Wen bequeathed us this terrace, which I climbed to watch the coming dawn. Cloudy peaks run northward in the three Jin districts, and rains are blowing westward through the two Ling valleys. Who knows but me about the guard at the gate, or where the deity of the riverbank is, or how to find that magistrate, that poet, who was as fond as I am of chrysanthemums and wine cups. Oh, you say magician. That's so weird. Such a strange translation. Okay, let's look at the context for this. I mean, clearly he is at a specific place, right? This place called, right? So Wang Xian Tai. Okay, so it's just some place in Henan. And there, he went with his friend Liu Ming for. Wait, Liu Ming. Is it Liu Ming Fu? Yeah, Liu Ming Fu. That's right. And so, yeah, I guess that's all the context we need. All right, then. So that's why he's at the place with his friend. That's why he's writing this and presenting it to his friend. Okay, so let's go through it line by line then. So then the Han Emperor Wen bequeathed us this terrace, which I climbed to watch the coming dawn. So the Han dynasty, so the people in the Tang, the Han dynasty is like, it's like the golden age that preceded theirs. I mean, it was a while back, but the Han was considered like a very good time. So let's just keep it's just FYI in case this becomes relevant later on. Then next, which cloudy peaks are run northward in the three Jin districts, and rains are blowing westward through the two Ling valleys. Not sure if this matters. Let's see. Okay, so it's just the surrounding geography. Apparently it's near the tombs of some famous emperors as well, or kings. And who knows but me about the guard at the gate? So what's with that? So this gate is okay. This sounds pretty famous. This pass, this mountain pass, Hangu Guan is also in that area, right? At Henan. Right. So it's one of a very important strategic location because it's a pass and that like just naturally like prevents enemy from going through, right? So it's a major right, it's a major factor for defense, especially for historically for the Qin. So that's where Qin sort of was this is the location where Qin really began its conquest of the entire central states and became the first Chinese empire, right? So but this is just that place. It's kind of in this area of this Wangxian Tai. And then the official or the guard at the gate is this other guy. I'm not really sure. Let's look at the context. Okay, so this is another historical figure, supposed to be the same time as he was a guard apparently at the same time as Lao Tzu, author of the Tao Te Ching. So this is a historical reference. Yeah. Okay. So apparently he's a very important figure in the Taoist religion. He's this, I guess, yeah, and apparently the story goes that the story is that, Lao Tzu, right? Like he was just gonna like bounce out of China, just gonna leave. And then like, but before he left, someone at one of the sentries asked him like, hey, can you please write down like all your wisdom? And so then apparently that's why he wrote the Tao Te Ching. So the story goes, one story says that this is the guy, this is the guard, this Yi or Guan Yizi is the guy who asked him to write it down. So yeah, actually, I didn't know this until today. I didn't know about this person, right? But this guy apparently he like became an immortal, and so he's pretty important, right? Okay. And then so the story is that when he was at the gate at Hangu Guan, the pass, he suddenly sees like this purple air, like purple cloud, like wafting to the east, I guess, or from the east. And then he's like, oh, there must be some holy man coming. And then truly it was Lao Tzu riding his green ox. And so he's like, oh, please. That's why he talked to Lao Tzu and asked him to write down his wisdom. And that's what we have, the Tao Te Ching. And then after that, he also followed Lao Tzu. So then the question he's asking is who can recognize, I guess it could be who could recognize such a guy, or who can be like him to recognize this a holy man. I'm thinking it's the second one, but it could be either, right? So either who could be like him or who could recognize him or who could be like him and recognize Lao Tzu. Okay. Kind of a long explanation. Very long. Okay. And next, how to find the magician, the magistrate, that poet. Okay, so that's so many references here. So this that magistrate, the magician of the river bank. Sorry. There's so many references, I got confused. So guard at the gate is that guy. This this Ling Yi, right? This Yi Xi. And then magician of the riverbank, deity at the riverbank, is just some other immortal guy. And then this next one, this is the last reference, is a reference, this magistrate, that poet, is a reference to another famous author, Tao Yuanming, who loves chrysanthemums, and he also loves to drink. And which is why we have this last one, who was as fond as I am of chrysanthemums and wine cups. Okay, so that's like the very first level of understanding. Let's see what's next. Let's try to understand the point of this. I think maybe the point of the three historical references is kind of hidden talent, hidden talent, which is why he goes to this spot, right, with a very good view, and then he looks around and he sees this vast expanse, but he's like, the world is so big, but who except me can recognize I guess hidden talent. I think that's what, since the three references, the guard at the gate, the magician of the riverbank, and this magistrate and poet, these three are all sort of reclusive, hidden figures. Yeah. Interesting. So that's my take. Let's see if the famous critics, what they think. Yeah, not super helpful. I guess there's one psychological point which just says that if you're frustrated and you get to somewhere tall, then I guess you just feel a bit better. Your sort of mental blockages get relieved. So that would suggest that he was working through something, right? And after seeing going up here, then that's when he's sort of comes to some resolution of like, yeah. Well, the resolution is actually in the last line, I think. The translation doesn't really show it, but it literally says just getting drunk together under the chrysanthemums with chrysanthemums and wine cups with this famous poet, Tao Yuanming, right? So I think maybe feels like the lines 5 and 6 are more like frustration. It's like no one else is able to recognize talent. So implies that maybe he's not being recognized, right? But at the end, he says, screw it. I'm just going to drink and enjoy my life. So, well, it could even be his friend, right? He says, because if he positions himself as someone who can recognize talent, then maybe his friend is the talented one who's not being recognized. Yeah. But the ending is the same. It's just, screw it. Let's get drunk, enjoy life. So I think that's the flow of the poem here. Yeah. I realize there's a lot of poems in this genre where they're just in a place and they're like, I guess, inspired by it, but also because of that, there's a lot of concrete references in the poems that we need to parse out. Because if you're talking about that specific place, you need, I mean, it's nice to actually mention things about the place, right? You see this next one, it's like, oh, I'm climbing the terrace of phoenixes. So on climbing in Nanjing to the terrace of phoenixes. So yeah, I wonder how many of those we have today. Okay, this is kind of more typical one. An early audience at the Palace of Light. Oh, why are there two of the same thing? Wow. Okay, why don't we go to this one first then? Yeah. Check if anything from you. Oh, so for the last poem, it's pretty cool. So he sees some hidden things, or he has some long type of knowledge. Yeah, yeah. And now you say it's very long titles. Yeah, it's crazy, right? This one is like all the way down here. So, and if some of the other poems, they have like prefaces to the poems. So they're just write in prose, like the occasion on which they're writing the poem. And then many times the prefaces are longer than the poems themselves. So yeah, crazy stuff. Okay, so here, let's see this, on climbing in Nanjing to the Terrace of Phoenixes, 登金陵凤凰台. So, 凤凰台上凤凰游，凤去台空江自流。乌宫花草埋幽径，静待衣冠成古秋。三台半落青山外，二水中分白鹭洲。总为浮云能蔽日，长安不见使人愁。Phoenixes that played here once, so that the place was named for them, have abandoned it now to this desolate river. The paths of Wu Palace are crooked with weeds. The garments of Qin are ancient dust, like this green horizon halving the three peaks, like this island of white egrets dividing the river. A cloud has arisen between the light of heaven and me to hide his city from my melancholy heart. So what's the context for this? Okay, so apparently this was when he was he was sort of like forced out of the capital due to some politics, right? And yeah, and then he was just at this yeah, he just came across this Phoenix Terrace, right? And let's look at the specific references then. So here this is in Jiangsu province. Okay, apparently the story is that there are these very colorful birds three colorful birds that just lighted on this mountain, and that's why they made this terrace, and they called the whole mountain Phoenix Mountain, and this terrace Phoenix Terrace. Okay, that's pretty cool. So that's why literally it says phoenixes that played here once, so that the place was named for them. So nothing too metaphorical, I guess. Just literally, it just happened. But now they have abandoned it now to this desolate river. Okay, nothing here. And the paths of Wu Palace are crooked with weeds. The garments of Qin are ancient dust. Oh, the Wu Palace. Okay, it's just a palace nearby, constructed by Sun Wu, some ruler, a while back. Then the Jin. Okay, this should be Jin, not Qin, right? The Jin is completely different. Jin will be a lot later than the Qin. Qin is like 221 BC. This is like in the 80s for sure. It's like a few hundred AD, right? Just yeah, just some minor dynasty, right? And the garments of Jin are ancient dust. This is because they once set their capital in this city as well. And when we say the garments, it's apparently referring to the people. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter. The whole point, I guess, is just I guess it's about decline, right? First is like, well, once you name this place after phoenixes, right? It's like the highlight of your life. But now it's just some like old river. And then what was once an imperial palace is just full of weeds. And the Jin dynasty is now just dust. So it's not very inspiring considering you're in the, I guess personal experience is like when I went to Greece and I saw the Parthenon, and then I was like, so I was pretty excited about it, right? It's Greece, and like I'm always interested in the ancient world. Then I go there, I'm like, oh wow, there is just the Parthenon is the whole facade is just blocked by like all this piping because they're like it's under construction or like they're renovating it, and it just looks like terrible. So, or it wasn't very inspiring. So I suspect this is what Li Bai is feeling, because you go to, I mean, Phoenix Terrace sounds awesome, but the fact that he's just like, but the fact that he's writing this poem suggests that he is quite disappointed at what it is. So maybe it's just kind of in disrepair, or yeah, so it's almost like crooked with weeds or ancient dust, right? And then next, then like this green horizon halving the three peaks, like this island of white egrets dividing the river. Okay, more references. So this white egret, the three peaks. Okay, just three mountains in that area. The white egret is it used to be this little island, but now because the waters have like moved, it is basically just connected to land by land. Yeah. Okay. So this is about division, right? So like this green horizon halving the three peaks, and the island of white egrets dividing this river. A cloud has arisen between the light of heaven and me to hide his city. So this is the capital, Chang'an, from my melancholy heart. Okay. So this is So this makes a lot of sense now that we know, since we know that this is right after he was like pushed out of the city due to some politics, right? So I think it makes perfect sense then. It's like he's feeling sad and a bit lost. And it feels like maybe the best time of his life is over, even. And that's why he comes here and all he sees is decline, decay, and then just division between, just division now. Yeah. So I think that's pretty straightforward then once we know the context. Yeah. Let's see what the famous critics say. Or looking at your comments. Say decline like impermanence. Yes, that is a good point. Yeah. And then he is in the domain of the first half of the poem, but the domain of the second half is much better. He's been kicked out of a great place and he misses it. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. It's just, it's poor guy. Yeah, poor guy. Okay, let's see. Oh, this is quite funny. It's like, even though this poem is named after Phoenix Terrace, he only spends 2 lines on it. That's a good point, right? But I mean, even if it's about the place, the last few lines will have, to make it a good poem, I think it has to capture the emotional state. But I think he's right. Usually, I guess it'll take at least about half the poem, which also makes me think like he doesn't want to. He doesn't call this like, oh, I climbed Phoenix Terrace and I'm super pissed off about getting kicked out of the capital. So I think he gave it more of a normal title. But also he emphasizes that this Feng Huang Tai, this Phoenix Terrace is in Nanjing. So I guess it does give a sense of like, it does hint about him. It is related to him not being in the capital, right? So yeah, that's a very interesting point about the title. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so people are drawing parallels with this, with the poem we read yesterday about Yellow Crane Terrace. So yeah, maybe, yeah. So maybe it's not that many poems are about climbing things and how they feel, but just there are very few poems, but we're just reading them very closely. So it feels like it's happening a lot. Yeah. Okay. I think that's actually about it. I like the point about the title. Very interesting. Yeah. Okay. Now see if you have any comments. If not, then we can move on to the next one. Okay. Nothing for now. So let's move on to this by Gao Shi to vice prefects Li and Wang, degraded and transferred to Xiazhong and Changsha. So, that's not great. 宋李少府贬峡中，王少府贬长沙. I don't somehow this made me laugh. It's like, it's just very like straightforward. It's like, oh, yeah, it's just no, everyone will remember that these 2 guys were demoted. Yeah. But okay, let's see. The poem itself. 嗟君此别意何如？驻马衔杯问折枝，巫峡啼人数行泪。衡阳归雁几封书，清风江扇秋帆远。白帝重编古木书，胜代及今多雨露。战时分手莫踌躇。What are you thinking as we part from one another, pulling in our horses for the stirrup cups? Do these tear streaks mean Wu Valley monkeys all weeping, or wild geese returning with news from Hung Mountain? On the river between green maples, an autumn sail grows dim. There are only a few old trees by the wall of the white god city. But the year is bound to freshen us with a dew of heavenly favor. Take heart, and we shall soon be together again. Okay, so I think I need some context. Well, first, who are the two people being banned? Like banished? Okay, not much. Just that we only know that they're being banished. At first, I was wondering if the author himself, is also being demoted, but it doesn't look like it. Yeah. Okay. Let's go through this line by line then and look at the references. I said you've heard of Changsha rap. Hope is not rap about being banished, demoted and banished. Okay. So what are you thinking as we part from one another, pulling in our horses for the stirrup cups? Stirrup cups are the things at your feet, right? Okay, it's not important. Just some horse thing. Do these tear streaks mean Wu Valley monkeys all weeping? Wu Valley. Okay, it's just some mountain. Not sure why the monkeys are weeping though. And then, or wild geese returning with news from Hung Mountain. Okay, so the legend goes that every year in this autumn, the wild geese from the north fly south and then all the way to Hengyang's a mountain in Hengyang, and that's where they turn back. So this is it's from so because one of his friends is going to Hengyang, right? Oh no, he's going to Changsha, but apparently Changsha is nearby to this place, I guess. And that basically he's saying, telling his friend to just send back ladders. Yeah. So it's the ladders are returning just like wild geese returning. Oh, that's very cute, right? It's a cute way to say like, oh, please write me more. I guess the Wu Valley is for the other friend then, right? It's a very cute way to do it. Oh, I like this. Huh. It's just he's thinking of their lives when they're there. And it's sad, but also yeah, I think it's very clever. Yeah, a very clever way to write it. Mm. On the river, between green maples, an autumn sail grows dim. There are only a few old trees by the wall of the white god city. The river between green maples. So I didn't get where's White God City? I don't understand. Okay. Oh. Okay. So again, these are very specific places. So the Green Maples, the other river, this is for the place of one of his friends. And then the White God City is just another place that one of his other friends is going to. So yeah, so on the river between Green Maples and Autumn Sail grows dim, there are only a few old trees by the wall of White God City. So it's basically just continuing the thing that he did the previous two lines, but for lines 5 and 6. Yeah, just thinking about where they're gonna go. And then finally he concludes, but the year is bound to freshen us with a dew of heavenly favor. Take heart, we shall soon be together again. Okay, that's kind of nice. Nice way to end it. Yeah, I'm not sure what there is to analyze, then it's just is that once you work through all the references, it becomes very obvious. It's just like, yeah. But that's interesting. It's what are you thinking as we part from each other? And then he sort of talks about what they may be thinking. But then they're all, in the end, they're all thinking that, we're gonna be together again soon. I think that's the implication. Yeah. That's very interesting. Huh. Okay, let's see. Let's see. The horse rider places their feet in the stirrups. Okay, so that's correct about the stirrups. And yeah, it's nice and it ended on a high note. So yeah, I think that's what they're kind of saying also. It's just goes very well. Yeah, these famous critics, what do they say? So this person says that using 4 place names in, I guess, 3, 4, 5, 6, the lines is really difficult when you're writing in regulated verse or regular verse, which is this form, because it has very strict rules on how uh uh like what words can be where. So yeah, I guess it is a very technically skilled poem. Yeah, so very clever. And okay, I guess that's about it for this. I think let's move on to the next one. Yeah, because going quite a bit slower today, just because the poems have more to unpack and a lot of references. So an early audience at the Palace of Light, harmonizing Secretary Jia Zhi's poem, 奉和中书舍人贾至早朝大明宫，鸡鸣子墨曙光寒，因转黄州春色蓝，今却小中开万户，日接仙帐拥千官，花迎剑佩新出落，柳拂旌旗露未干，独有凤凰池上客，阳春一曲何嗟难。 Cock crow, the purple road cold in the dawn. Linnet songs, court roofs tinted with April. At the Golden Gate morning bell, countless doors open, and up the jade steps float 1,000 officials with flowery scabbards. Stars have gone down. Willows are brushing the dew from the flags. And alone, on the lake of the Phoenix, a guest is chanting too well the song of bright spring. What's the context of this? I mean, it's kind of in the title, but just what's the deal? Okay. Okay, so basically this 贾志, he wrote a song, or he wrote a poem, and he's like, hey, why don't you guys write a companion, some companion poems? So we have one here by Chen Can, and then one by Wang Wei. So I don't think Du Fu's one is here. Yes. Maybe it's, yeah, but essentially this story says the companion poems are much better than the original ones, which is why only the companion ones were, or I suspect this is why only the companions were included in this collection. Yeah. Okay, so let's just read the poem itself. So it's about them really going to court early, right? So yeah, so an early audience at the Palace of Light. So that's just the palace. And then they're just writing a companion to Secretary Jia Zhi. There's another official, his poem. So cock crow, the purple road cold in the dawn. So cock crow is like, I mean, it's the chicken crowing in the morning. And then the purple road is just the streets of the capital, okay? Purple road cold in the dawn. Linnet songs, court roofs tinted with April. Songs. Okay, I think linnet is just a animal, is it? Okay. Oh, an oriole. Okay. Right, linnet songs, court roofs tinted with April. So it's just sort of setting the scene, right? Then at the Golden Gate, the Golden Gate is just a golden hall in the palace. At the Golden Gate, morning bell, countless doors open, and up the jade steps float 1,000 officials. So officials have to go to court early in the morning. So this is just it's describing that scene now. Like everyone's sort of there, like clocking in, right? And then with flowery scabbards, stars have gone down. Willows are brushing the dew from the flags. With flowery scabbards. Oh. Okay, so these are all things that yeah, like the officials carry some decorative objects. And stars have gone down. Willows. Okay, so the flowery scabbards, that's the decorative objects. And then stars have gone down because it's morning. And willows are brushing the dew from the flags. Okay. And alone on the lake of the Phoenix, a guest is chanting too well the song of bright spring. I didn't get this last part. Okay, so this is actually referring to his friend, the person, this Jia Zhi. So he's saying, you are alone at this lake of the Phoenix in the palace, and then you're chanting this song, this poem, that I have to harmonize, that I have to write a companion to, and you're doing it too well, so like it's kind of tough for me. Yeah, that's very nice. It's like capturing the scene. He's flattering his friend. And yeah, the irony is that this companion is more famous than the original poem. Yeah. Okay, that's pretty nice. It's just, I do quite like the way it describes the scene very vividly, like just with the sounds and then the cold, the sights, and then just at, so that's the first two lines, like sort of like the build up, right? And then it's kind of still, I guess. But then at the third and fourth line, like you have this bell, and once that happens, then there's a lot of movement. All the doors open, and then all the officials are going up. Yeah, and then more movement here, 3 and 4. Stars have gone down, the willows are brushing the dew from the flags. And it sort of goes back to the first, like the vibe of the first two lines again. It's more still, but there's also sound. Like there's not much motion except for sound, and you have the his friend reciting the poem. So I think it's a very nice, it's like slow and then fast and then slow again. It's really nice, yeah. Okay. Let's look at the here. The famous critics then. Oh, it's really good, actually. Now that I think about it, I think it's just, yeah, the rhythm of the scene, I guess. Just the alternation between like stillness and rhythm. I could totally see that working in a film as well. Yeah. See a nice scene, and then someone says, "Hey, hey, CJK team." So let me, hey, hey. Wow, a lot of hey, heys. Okay. Yeah. All right, so let's go look at the famous critics. Let's see anything. Um, uh, what is it? Right. So we were looking through. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat. Okay, let's go through this again, and then yeah. Right. Exactly. The first two lines is before the officials enter, and then, well, this is kind of obvious, right? When he says the chicken crows instead of saying morning, like, yeah. Oh, but also he says the Oreo or the linnet is singing. So instead of saying that it's a very nice day. So that's really smart. Actually, that's smart. Yeah, you have the chicken crows and the linnet singing. That's really smart. Yeah. Okay. Okay, quite a lot of interesting. Isn't it? Well, there really is a lot to unpack. Like even though this is like 56 characters, I feel like so many things are going on. But I think it's significantly more than the 5-character regular verse. So it's gonna taking a lot more effort to really work through it. But yeah, I think the complexity is very interesting. Like, good poems. All right, so now next we have another poem, but in the same context, but now this by another friend who was asked to respond to the original poem. So Wang Wei, famous guy as well, an early audience at the Palace of Light harmonizing secretary Jia Zhi's poem, 和贾舍人早朝大明宫之作. Right. So 降则击人送小愁，上衣方尽翠云裘。九天昌河开宫殿，万国衣冠拜冕旒。日色才灵仙掌动，香烟日旁滚龙浮。朝罢须在五色照，配生归向凤池头。The red-capped cockman has just announced morning. The keeper of the robes brings jade cloud furs. Heaven's 9 doors reveal the palace and its courtyards, and the coats of many countries bow to the pearl crown. Sunshine has entered the giant's carven palms. Incense wreathes the dragon robes. The audience adjourns, and the 5-color edict sets girdle beads clinking toward the lake of the phoenix. Yeah, interesting. Sorry, I couldn't help but laugh at the red-capped cockman. Like, what? So, no way. This is so dumb. So apparently there's a guy who's basically a human alarm clock, like for the palace. Like, he wears a red cap, and then he just shouts in the morning. So this is like, and then that's why he's called the chicken man, the cock man, because it's like the chicken crowing in the morning. That's so dumb. Like, there has to be a better way to do this. Like, just ring a bell or something. So the red-capped cockman has just announced morning. The keeper of the robes brings jade cloud furs. So what's that for? Oh, that's the emperor's clothes. Okay. Heaven's 9 doors reveal the palace and its courtyards, and the coats of many countries bow to the pearl crown. So as you know, I think China has a tributary system. So the other countries are supposed to just come and like pay taxes, I guess, essentially, right? Like give money and acknowledge that China is in charge. But China just leaves them be most of the time. Yeah. All right, the next, sunshine has entered the giant's carven palms. Sunshine, it's just a kind of screen, I guess. Not like a computer screen, but like a screen to block the light. Yeah. So, okay, that's a really nice way to describe it. The giant's carven palms. The incense wreathes the dragon robes. Okay, dragon robe. Clearly, it's the emperor, what he's wearing, right? The audience adjourns, and the 5-color edict sets girdle beads clinking toward the lake of the phoenix. The 5-color edict. Okay, it's just imperial decrees written with 5-color paper. Yeah, and so it sets girdle beads clinking toward the lake of the phoenix. This is really cool. So it starts and ends just like the other poem, right? So it starts, well, the first one is the actual chicken. This one is the chicken man. So weird. Yeah, and then it both describes like the process of going to court, and then it ends with them going towards the Lake of the Phoenix, where they all are gathered. Yeah. I think this clearly focuses more on the process of being in court, right? So there isn't a build-up where this was like 2 lines of build-up and then the court kind of starts. But this is like it just starts when the court starts. And it's just describing what's happening there, which is also honestly very well done. I think the language is very good. And yeah, just using a lot of difficult words. That's why I was like checking all of the pronunciations, but I think very beautiful. And a lot of concrete details. I think it's really cool. And yeah, I love the giant carven palms. I'm not sure if there's much emotional content to this. I guess not in either of them. It's just a cute moment that they're all, shared between friends, right? Like they're all officials, they're all working, and then they just, share this moment together. So I like this. It's really nice. Yeah. Mm. Let's see if you have any comments so far. You said we felt your laugh in silence. Is this when I read about the red capped cock man? So dumb. Like I think I'm just it's just a stupid concept and the name is dumb, Yeah, but I'm not the only one who finds it funny. Yeah. And then you say, oh, at least sing, right? That makes sense. Instead of just like screaming. And lastly, you say it sounds like Genghis Khan took China's lead. This for the tributary system, right? I think, yeah, it's pretty, I guess it worked for its context. Yeah. It really worked for a long time. So good for them. Okay. And also just side note, nice to see everyone here. Like, yeah, a lot of people have seen all these weeks, and then like I guess doing this final week, then people are able to show up. So it's really nice to see you, like familiar faces. Yeah. Or not faces, familiar names. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just go through famous comments first. Um hmm, I guess actually not much analysis here. It's just I mean there isn't that much to say. It's just a nice poem, right? It's just a well-written poem with good use of language and a cute scene. So yeah, I'm nothing super useful here. And then oh wow, a lot of people here. Okay, and more comments. You said you're taught in the West as if the tributary system was fairly unique to the Mongolian Empire, and that I've been quite insightful. So wow, thanks. Yeah. I would like to do more stuff on like Chinese history. I mean, of course, this is like CJK, right? So I want to do more Japanese and Korean stuff. But because my Japanese and Korean, I'm still learning, so I can't read the original text just yet. So please be patient. I'll do the Chinese stuff first. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's so nice to see everyone, actually. It's like, wow. I feel I've really gotten to know you guys over these few months. So yeah. Okay, so let's do the next poem for now. Wang Wei, looking down in the spring rain on the course from Fairy Mountain Palace to the pavilion of increased harmonizing, the Emperor's poem. Oh, it's the pavilion of increase. That's one place. And so he's looking down and he's harmonizing the Emperor's poem. Okay. So 凤和盛至从蓬莱向兴庆，阁道中留春雨中，春望之作应至。So 渭水自迎琴瑟曲，黄山就绕汉宫斜。鸾鱼回出千门柳，阁道回看上苑花。云里地重双凤阙，雨中春树万人家。渭城阳气行时令，不是晨游玩物华。Round the turn of the Qin fortress winds the Wei River, and yellow mountain foothills enclose the court of China. Past the south gate, willows comes the car of many bells. On the upper palace garden road, a solid length of blossom. A forbidden city roof holds two phoenixes in cloud. The foliage of spring shelters multitudes from rain. And now, when the heavens are propitious for action, here is our emperor ready. Here is our emperor ready. No wasteful wanderer. Okay, that seems pretty interesting. I'll just reply to your comments real quick. Yeah, you want some Chinese history and giving insight into the Chinese characters. Okay, I'll try to do something like that. I think I've already promised that we'll do the 三字经 next, the 3-character book. That's a terrible translation, but yeah, it's a very famous book, especially for, so all the kids, many Chinese kids are forced to like memorize this. Yeah, it's like morals and like basic language skills. So we'll do this next, and then yeah, I'd like to read more, I guess more of the stuff here. We could then read like the Analects by Confucius. I think that would be very useful to start talking about Chinese history and thought. Yeah. So, all right, glad that you're interested in this. I guess I will keep doing these live streams then. Yeah. Okay. Then let me just look at the context and get through all the references before replying to you guys again. Okay. So here it says he's looking down in a spring rain on the course from Fairy Mountain Palace to the Pavilion of Increase, and then he's harmonizing the Emperor's poem. So he's writing a companion to the Emperor's poem, and there, I guess in the palace, and looking down. Can I just say this title is like almost as long as the poem? How insane is that? Okay, so okay, fine. It's not as long as the poem, but it's pretty long. Yeah. Okay, so the context for this is that they are, okay, I think they're in a different palace, not the main palace, but maybe some summer palace or something like that, right? Like a villa. And so this is Tang Xuanzong. There's the emperor, and then he went out of the palace he went out and then he saw in the rain, he was looking at the views of spring, right? So literally what it says in the title. Yeah, and then let's look at the concrete references then. So Wei Shui. So here Wei Shui is the Wei River. And then Qin Se is the Qing fortress. So I guess they're just both things that are in the area, right? And then gosh, so many things. Yellow Mountain, just a mountain in the area. And then the Han Gong, the court, I guess, because he is in one of the palaces. So I think this is just all of these things are around the palace that they are currently at. Okay. And then, well, I guess past the south gate, willows come the car of many bells. I'm sure it sounds better in Chinese. But it's just the emperor's ride. It's the emperor's chariot, I guess. Then yeah. On the upper palace garden road, a solid length of blossom. Hmm. Okay, I guess that's exactly what it says. It's the upper palace garden road. And the Forbidden City, you know the Forbidden City, right? I mean, it's the imperial, the capital. Yeah. No, wrong. Sorry, it's the imperial palace. So it's like a city, but the commoners can't go inside. As in, it's so complex that it's kind of like a city, but it's forbidden to like commoners, right? So that's why it's the Forbidden City. Yeah. And the Forbidden City roof holds two phoenixes in cloud. Okay. Ah, it's just there's on the palace, there's two uh viewing towers, and they're sort of named after these uh legendary birds. Yeah. Okay, so if we go through this again, just a lot of references, right? So this first two lines, I mean, it really is just describing the spring view. So it's just this is what all the things are happening. All the things they're seeing. And then the foliage of spring shelters multitudes from rain. And now when the heavens are propitious for action, here's our emperor ready, no wasteful wanderer. I'm not sure why. I guess this sort of companion poems always have to refer back to the original poem, which is why in the previous two they all ended with this Lake of the Phoenix. And here he's like referring back to the emperor because it's a companion poem to the emperor's own poem. I'm not really sure how the scene from before really leads to this sentiment that it's like a man ready for action. Maybe because there's a car of many bells. So it's like, he's moving around. He's not just stuck in the palace. He's actively like traveling and like doing things. Yeah. I'm kind of curious. Hmm. So the foliage of spring shelters multitudes from rain. I guess this could be a metaphor for the emperor's rule as well. So, I don't know. I don't quite see how this poem really hangs together from the first part to the second part. Just I get the descriptions, but I'm not sure how it connects to this like the emperor uh just being a good emperor, I guess. Let's look at the famous critics and we'll see uh if they're very insight if there's any insights here. Okay. Uh This is kind of an interesting comment. So it's like 5, line 5 is connected to 1 and 2. So this Forbidden City roof holds 2 phoenixes in cloud is apparently connected to this Qin Fortress, Wei River, Yellow Mountain foothills, Court of China. I guess it's within, maybe. No, that can't be right. Can't be within the palace. And then the foliage of spring shelters multitude from rain. At least that critic thinks is connected to the Southgate willows, the car of many bells, and the Upper Palace Garden Road. I don't quite see it though. Not sure if this is quite accurate. Huh. Okay, here's another way to look at it. So lines 1 and 2, they talk about it's about seeing the outer uh the outer scenery, and then the next two are the sort of the scenery within the palace. So sort of moving inwards. So that's interesting, right? Usually the poems will be moving from like small to big, so it's moving outwards. But here's sort of moving in. And I guess in the end it sort of centers on the emperor. So that's a kind of interesting move there. Like usually, yeah, right? Because usually you start from something small and then you gradually expand out if you wanted this sort of motion, right? It's like usually if it's a film, you'll be like zooming out, so you see more and more. But this is like zooming in, and then it all goes right into the emperor at the end. That's very interesting. Mhm. Oh, nothing much about the final two lines. I guess you kind of have to flatter the emperor, so I can see why he did it, but hmm. But I think if it's assuming this is a good poem, it must be connected to the previous things, right? So, I wonder. Like now it's just a bit of a non sequitur almost. Ah, that's nice. That's a point. Good point. You say the outer view when it goes from outside to inside. The outer view sets the scene. Mm. Yeah, that's true, right? It's like establishing shot at first, and then you to focus in on the characters. Like like you like a typical movie. That's how you would do it, right? That's interesting. Hmm. Yeah, okay. I don't have enough information to really decode what's going on with the emperor here. So I guess, yeah. I guess let's just move on to the next one then. Okay. Uh, here, Wang Wei. Oh, harmonizing a poem by palace attendant Guo. So another companion poem. I'm pretty sure this palace attendant Guo, it makes it sound like he's just washing the dishes or something, but I'm pretty sure it is a high-ranking guy. Like, if because Wang Wei was a very, I think he's related to like royalty and all that. So I think it's just hard to translate all this the titles of Chinese uh imperial Chinese officials. So like if you want to explain what it means, it's gonna sound kind of dumb, or you're not gonna be able to convey everything, right? Just because it's a very different sort of hierarchy. Yeah. Right. So harmonizing a poem by palace attendant Guo, Chou Guo, Ji Shi, maybe. 洞门高阁 矮余晖，桃李殷殷，柳絮飞。镜里书中观舍玩，省中啼鸟丽人稀。晨摇日佩，趋金殿。西奉天书，拜所谓。为强日从军无纳老，将因卧病解朝衣。High beyond the thick wall, a tower shines with sunset, where peach and plum are blooming, and the willow cotton flies. You have heard in your office the court bell of twilight. Birds find perches, officials head for home. Your morning jade will tinkle as you thread the golden palace. You will bring the word of heaven from the closing gates at night, and I should serve there with you, but being full of years, I have taken off official robes and am resting from my troubles. Let's look at the context first. There aren't that many specific references here, it seems like. So, okay, let's look at the background. It's just, oh, this is totally useless. It just says this poem was written by the poet when he was old to palace attendant Guo. Like, yeah, it was right in the title. Yeah. But okay. Then let's go line by line then. High beyond the thick wall, a tower shines with sunset. Okay, what's the thick wall? Okay, it's the palace wall. And then the tower shines with sunset, where peach and plum are blooming, and the willow cotton flies. You have heard in your office the court bell of twilight. I think the court bell of twilight, that should be... Is twilight dawn or dusk here? Let's see. Line 3. This should be the evening bell. Right, okay, so this should be the bell for when people, when the officials head home. So sort of the opposite. It's like the end of the day as opposed to the start of the day that we just saw. Right, so birds find perches, officials head for home. Your morning jade will tinkle as you thread the golden palace. The jade is, okay, it's just a decorative item. And then you will bring the word of heaven from the closing gates at night. You'll bring the word of... I think the word of heaven is actually just the emperor, because the emperor is the son of heaven. So this is just what the emperor decrees, I guess. I suspect this is his job, is to literally like deliver the decrees and stuff. Yeah, exactly. It's the emperor's decrees. Which again makes him sound like a delivery boy, but I'm sure he's a high-ranking guy in order to have Wang Wei reply to him. Yeah. So I should serve there with you, but being full of years, I have taken off official robes and am resting from my troubles. What's the point of this poem? What's the emotional core of this poem? Okay, but it sounds like he is really old and sick. And maybe here's one reading. Like I think so the Chinese Wikipedia does say that he's quite sick. The poet, old and sick, right? So I think you could always read the first 6 lines as he describes what's happening is as like he's sort of reminiscing on, yeah, he's just remembering his life in the court and just like he thinks very fondly of it. And now he's like, he can't really do it anymore. So there's also a sense of regret, and maybe not regret, but just nostalgia and like wistfulness. Right. Yeah. Because literally here it's 卧病, right? Lying ill. Because of I'm lying down and ill, I have to take off my official robes. So yeah, wow. I feel like reaching this last part, it really puts the first few lines into context again. Because we've seen other poems where they're just like praising the I guess the scene, right? Like describing the scene in a very beautiful way. But now he's sort of it this is put into a different context because now we know that he's not really able to engage in that anymore. Yeah. And I also thought it's very interesting that he doesn't have that many, but he has concrete references, but it's not like names of specific places. Wait, did I miss a poem? Oh no, I guess I did. Okay, I guess I'll have to go back then. After I'm done with this. Yeah. But yeah, just very interesting that he doesn't use as many like let's say for this one, Qin Fortress, Wei River, all these very specific things. But here he's just picking up on the small things. Like he's not talking about like huge towers and stuff, right? This is like, I mean, there is a tower here, but it's just, peach and plum are blooming, willow cotton flies, the bell, the bird, the jade. So I think it's very interesting that he's remembering the little things. And I guess these are the things that really stick with you over time. Yeah. Yeah. So I think I wasn't expecting to like this poem so much, but oh, this is really good. Okay, let's see if you've said anything. Say, the busyness of court life is finished, and oh, maybe he's retired. Yeah. So at first I thought it was like a chill thing, but now that I read the last two lines more closely, it's more of I guess more about himself than Guo. It's more about his own feelings. That's Wang Wei's feelings. Yeah. Okay. Mm, maybe maybe we can move on to famous critics. So let's see. Oh, nothing super useful actually. Hmm. Yeah. Okay then. Then maybe let's move to the poem we missed. Yeah, which is here. Actually, let me close some of the earlier tabs so I won't get so lost. So we were here, right? So now we have three last poems for today. Actually, okay, I need to turn off something real quick. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so now we're back with Wang Wei. In my lodge at Wang Chuan after a long rain, 积雨往川庄作，积雨空灵烟火迟，蒸梨吹暑响冬，滋漠漠水田飞白鹭，阴阴夏木转黄鹂，山中习静观潮 景，松下清斋折路回。野老与人争席罢，海鸥何事更相宜。The heck? I don't think I can say this. What? The woods have stored the rain, and slow comes the smoke as rice is cooked on or something and carried to the fields. Over the quiet marshland flies a white egret, and mango birds are singing in the full summer trees. I have learned to watch in peace the mountain morning glories, to eat split dewy sunflower seeds under a bough of pine, to yield the post of honor to any boar at all. Why should I frighten seagulls, even with a thought? Well, obviously, my first question is, what is this supposed to be, right? What? Okay. Hmm. I think it's just like firewood. Yeah, I think that's just it. So the woods have stored the rain. So what's the context of this? So now he's sort of living in sort of in the mountains, just chilling. And oh, interesting. Apparently he was sort of left the politics because he didn't agree with what was going on. And so now he's just trying to live a spiritual life, like develop his Buddhist practice. So yeah, this is during that period. Oh, that's really interesting. So then let's see the notes here if there's anything useful. Okay, so the woods have stored the rain and still comes the smoke as rice is cooked on firewood and carried to the fields. Oh, okay, you say it means sticks, like firewood, a bundle of sticks. I see, I see. Okay. Then so you want to learn more about the formal rules for those poems. And yeah, I think that's you could just look up this 七元律诗 or the 7-character regular verse or regulated verse. It's pretty complicated, yeah. But but yeah, I think I probably should try to understand them better too. So yeah, good for you for trying. Okay. So okay, so it's cooked on the firewood, and then over the quiet marshland flies a white egret, and mango birds are singing in the full summer trees. This seems like a very peaceful scene. It's like this reminds me, Avengers when like Thanos, after he did his thing and then he just retires to some random planet. He's just like eating simple food. Like this gives me that vibe. Yeah. Okay, then after that, I have learned to watch in peace the mountain morning glories, to eat split dewy sunflower seeds under a bough of pine. Interesting. It's just really a very simple life. Living in peace, eating like very simple food, vegetarian food, right? Yeah. And to yield the post of honor to any boar at all. So just this is like fighting in politics, right? So why should I bother? So why should I frighten seagulls, even with a thought? Wow, that's really nice. Because considering he was an extremely high-ranking official, now he's like, no, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to compete. Just going to live in peace and Yeah, like not even, I mean, he doesn't eat meat, right? He's vegetarian. Now he doesn't even want to frighten seagulls with like a thought. Oh, so wow, such a gentle guy. I don't know, just this last line makes me feel it just has a very like spiritual vibes. It gave me some chills when I understood what it meant. That's really interesting, huh? Mm, wow. Yes. Not sure what there is to analyze. It's just a state of simple contentment, I guess. Yeah. And you said now he is a peace-loving person. And it feels spiritual. Exactly, exactly. Yeah. It's really good. Let's look through the famous critics here. Hmm. I don't think there's much to say. I guess it's exactly what we have. Yeah, I don't see anything super insightful here. Yeah, I mean, it's just a scene of a simple life. Yeah. And I guess maybe worth noting, I guess it puts this in context. Like if he also wrote this court poem while he's just in the mountains, then all this is really just from memory. And maybe that's why it's like his spiritual development, he no longer fixates on this huge monuments and he just remembers fondly like the really small things that yeah, just the small things. So yeah, really interesting. One of my favorite poets, this guy. Yeah. Right. Then let's move on to the next one by Du Fu. The temple of the premier of Shu Xiang. I really I really enunciated that Shu just now. The Shu. Yeah. Yeah. I was expecting a longer title, so I was I have to rush through this very fast. These two characters. Okay, let's go through the poem. 丞相祠堂何处寻？景观城外柏林林。所以柏森森，森森应接碧草自春色，隔叶百里空好音。三顾频繁天下计，两朝开济老臣心。出师未捷身先死，长使英雄泪满襟。Where's the temple of the famous premier? In a deep grove near the city of silk, with the green grass of spring coloring the steps, and birds chirping happily under the leaves. The third summons waited him with affairs of state, and to two generations he gave his true heart. But before he could conquer, he was dead, and heroes have wept on their coats ever since. So who is this? Is this Zhuge Liang? Or yeah, it is Zhuge Liang. Okay. So the very famous strategist from the Three Kingdoms period. Uh, if you read the novel, or you've heard of the novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms, then this is the famous guy. Oh, there's an anime about him also, right? It's like I think English is called like your boy Kong Ming, because his name is also Kong Ming. Yeah, yeah. So very famous. Like every Chinese person will probably know his name. Yeah. So where's the temple of the famous premier? I think we've read another poem about this temple, actually. But yeah. Okay, so this temple is in Chengdu. Okay. Where's the temple of the famous premier? In a deep pine grove near the city of silk, with the green grass of spring coloring the steps and birds chirping happily under the leaves. I forgot to check the context for this. Okay, so this is when Du Fu first arrived at Chengdu, I believe. And yeah, so he visited the temple, and that's when he wrote this. And apparently this was when the country was still quite tumultuous due to the Anlu Shan rebellion. Just a huge rebellion, right? That basically broke the empire. And so that's why he felt like he wished he could do something, but he couldn't. And that's why he really admires Zhuge Liang for being able to do that. I mean, Zhuge Liang didn't fully succeed, but he was still very, I mean, he's well known for a reason now. Yeah. Okay, so I think that really contextualizes this when he says, okay, so where's the temple? The deep pine grove. Okay. And yeah, green grass of spring coloring the steps and birds chirping happily under the leaves. Can I hear it? That's right. The third summons weighted him with affairs of state. So here, this is a reference because this Zhuge Liang didn't actually agree to become the premier like right away. So he just lived in some random hut, and like the one who wanted to hire him, Liu Bei, right? So he's like of royal blood, but he's not very rich. But this Liu Bei, he heard of Zhuge Liang's reputation, and he came to visit him at the hut. He's like, hey, please work for me. I want to sort of bring peace to the world. And then Zhuge Liang was like, no. Zhuge Liang was like, thanks, but no thanks, right? And then Liu Bei went the second time, and he's like, thanks, but no thanks. And it's only the third time when Zhuge Liang is like, okay, I see you're sincere, so I'll join your cause. And because of that, it is the third summons that weighted him with affairs of state. Yeah. And to 2 generations, he gave his true heart. I think he also advised Liu Bei's son as well. So that's like 2 generations. But before he could conquer, he was dead. And heroes have wept on their coats ever since. So, I mean, you can really see the admiration here. It's just, I mean, the first part, again, it's classic because you have to write about what inspired you. So he describes like the temple, but that is more for him to go on to the second part, which is his thoughts about it, which is that, even though it's just even though he was weighted with, he was fun, right? He was vexed or bothered with affairs of state, and like he had to work very hard. And even despite that, he kind of failed because he couldn't finish his work and unify like the entire empire. But that is still a great work because everyone just, I'm not really sure why people are crying though for the last line. I guess maybe they're just sad that he never got to they're just very moved by how hard he worked and like his talents, but also that in the end his ambitions were not fulfilled. Yeah. Which is here, right? Like he worked really hard here, lines 5 and 6, but his ambitions were not fulfilled, line 7. And it's both inspiring and tragic. Yeah, both inspiring and tragic. because in the end, his state was conquered by Cao Cao, and then and Cao Cao is like the bad guy of the story, right? At least in the novel version. So yeah, I think he definitely has very mixed feelings. Much as even someone he admires failed. Even someone he admires so much has failed in uh like bringing peace to the world. And now the world he's living in is in such chaos, and he's not even in a position to do anything because no one is visiting him 3 times to offer him like a good job. I mean, if they came once, he would just take it, right? He's not even like you don't need to come twice, bro. Like once is enough. So yeah, just I can see why visiting this temple has such a profound effect on him. Yeah. Okay, maybe let's look at some of your comments first and then the critics. So, oh, kind of lagging. So Jose asked, maybe the last line is just for showing reverence. Yeah, that's also possible. And you said maybe he was so great. Yeah. But I do think there is or maybe it's just the Chinese Wikipedia really does bias me towards thinking like there's a lot of resonance with his own situation, the poet situation, which is why it's especially moving, especially relevant for him. Yeah. Okay, then for the famous critics, um, hmm, damn, actually I don't see anything super useful here. Okay, I guess I'm also kind of tired, so maybe let's move on to the next one, the final poem for today. Yeah. So here, 杜甫 again. A hearty welcome to Vice Prefect Cui. Here's just 克制, a guest has come. 舍南舍北皆春水，但见群鸥日日来。花径不曾人客扫，蓬门今始为君开。盘孙士远无间位，樽酒家贫只就黑。肯与邻翁相对饮，歌离呼曲尽余杯。North of me, south of me, spring is in flood. Day after day, I have seen only gulls. My path is full of petals. I have swept it for no others. My thatch gate has been closed, but opens now for you. It's a long way to the market. I can offer you little. Yet here in my cottage, there's old wine for our cups. Shall we summon my elderly neighbor to join us, call him through the gate, and pour the jar dry? This is a very famous poem. I remember reading this before. And just look at the context for this. So 杜甫, he was wandering before this, but now he says, all right, so he's in Chengdu now, and then he just built like a simple place. I just built of hay. It's like, okay, I'm gonna live here for a bit. And yeah, so this is after quite a lot of turmoil, right? So this is probably not that long after the previous poem, but now his friend has come to visit, and he's just very happy. Okay, so essentially friend visits, he's happy. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. North of me, south of me, spring is in flood. Day after day, I have seen only gulls. My path is full of petals. I have swept it for no others. My thatch gate has been closed, but opens now for you. That's very interesting, actually, with the context just now. It's like spring is happening, is in like full at full throttle, right? It's the spring. And then but he has only seen gulls. He has not seen anyone because he's living in kind of a secluded place. And yeah, the path, he hasn't even taken the time to uh sweep the path because no one's visiting him, right? And then the thatch gate has been closed, but now opens now for you. Like it's kind of like a huge like hyping up like this visit. It really shows how impactful it is for him. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I feel like not sweeping the door of petals. I don't know. Is he kind of like going through a breakdown here? But I guess it is kind of normal not to like if you're not using it, like you wouldn't sweep it, right? But regardless, he's clearly very happy. He was emphasizing sort of that loneliness here, right? And just almost like things are falling into disrepair, but like it's like the mere fact that someone's visiting, like it sort of gives him the energy, the motivation to like put things in order. And you can really tell how happy he is to meet his friend. Yeah. Yeah. And then this next part, the second half, it's a long way. Okay, and you're saying I think he just isn't expecting anyone. Yeah, I think that's also possible. Yeah, right. And this here is a long way to market. I can offer you little. Yet here in my cottage, there is old wine for our cups. Shall we summon my elderly neighbor to join us? Call him through the fence and pour the jar dry? Okay, that's kind of weird, right? I forgot about this. So there was an elderly neighbor all along, and apparently he's close enough to be called through the fence, right? So then, but this part, he's like, day after day, I have seen only gulls. He hasn't even swept his path. That kind of inclines me to read him as having some kind of, or just feeling very isolated. Because his neighbor is just there, like, you could just call him over. But he says, day after day, I have seen only gulls. So there's minimally a sort of psychological isolation in the first four. Even if it turns out actually he's not that physically isolated. Yeah. I mean, it's isolating in that it's a long way to market, right? But yeah, I think you're definitely right. He isn't expecting someone because he has not prepared the old wine and he only has old wine. And yeah, exactly right. He hasn't swept it for because he isn't really expecting except now his friend. Right. Interesting. And is that the fact that his friend is here, like that actually makes him so happy that he's like excited to even talk to his neighbors. Whereas before it seems like he wasn't that keen. I think it's almost like I might be overreading, but it feels like the arrival of his friend has such a transformative effect. It's almost like his friend is the spring, is the bringing in of new life. Mm, wow. Well, anyway, he clearly is very happy to meet his friend. So that's very sweet. Yeah, it's really sweet. Yeah. Yeah. Now let's look at some famous critics. And you say, oh, actually, interesting points here. I think old wine is good quality. That's a good point. That's a good point. Interesting. And Jose says he may feel not so inclined to call on his neighbor usually, but now he has company and feels more comfortable. And then he says, so this is a drinking social to celebrate his friend. Yeah, that's very interesting. And someone says, Shige-chan says, bros reading Tang poems. Yeah, actually, I can imagine these guys, they're like just drinking and like reading poems too. Maybe I should get some alcohol for the last few streams. Get in the vibe of it. Yeah. But yeah, interesting. Right. I think it's very interesting point that, yeah, usually, because I do agree that sometimes it's that you do feel more social when your friends are with you, right? Like it's kind of awkward to talk to new people if you're alone, but like having someone with you, you just feel more confident. Yeah. So it does seem like like his friend coming is opening up like a whole new, just really changing his life for that moment. Yes, I think bringing a lot of joy to him. Yeah. He says, drunk emotions are pure emotions. Exactly. Yeah. So much of Chinese poetry is just like, let's have another drink. So, and fun fact, it said that Confucius could drink a lot, but he never got drunk. So, yeah, it's a long tradition of heavy drinkers in Chinese society. I don't think. Well, I was gonna say Chinese wine isn't that strong, but I don't think that's true. So, I don't know. I'm a terrible drinker, so it's hard for me to relate. Okay. Another respectable attitude, you said. Okay, let's just look at some of the famous critics for this. And then since we're on the last poem of the day, oh, it's quite a lot. I mean, it's a very famous poem. I would have thought there were more, actually. It says this is interesting point. It's kind of a simple rustic pleasures. So these are like rustic language as well. I don't think the words are too simple. I can see what it means. It just use more very specific words that I think do conjure a sense of like the countryside. Yeah. And then interesting. Here's a interesting point when he says like every day he sees only the gulls, but even though it seems lonely, the meaning is a bit more elevated. Is it because you have to look up to see the gulls? It's almost like he's always looking up at the sky and he doesn't see like the people around him. So in some sense, his friend coming actually brings him down to earth, right? Like he's just like literally like looking at where he is. I think it also makes sense if he's always looking at the sky. That's why he didn't really sweep the floor of all the petals. Yeah. That's a very interesting point. So then it's like, yeah, it really is just like bringing him down to earth. Okay, I think that's about it. Nothing else that I see from these famous critics. And yeah, I guess that's it for the 10 poems today. I hope I didn't skip any other poems. Right. So yeah, thanks for today. And I think I'm getting the hang of this genre, the 7-character regular verse. So quite excited. I guess we have 4 more days and then we'll be through with all the poems. And yeah, should be pretty, yeah, just really nice getting more and more into this. And yeah, and it's especially nice that there's a few of you commenting and like just sharing your thoughts on the poems. Yeah, so I think exactly it's like bros reading Tang poems. It's a good time. Okay, so thanks for this. And yeah, I hope some of you can make it tomorrow as well. And we can make it through another 10, starting with this poem by Du Fu. So all right. Thanks again for everything, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right. Bye.